Welcome to RainbowSoul Podcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and LeKross's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to RainbowSoul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else RainbowSoul is offered on our website at RainbowSoul.show.
Hello. This is your 2023 RainbowSoul Soulstrology Forecast. And we are pretty much going to try to bring you into a vibration of what 2023 is going to be like. But let's just take a moment. I want to just take a moment to take a little breath. So first of all, I'm Hollis Taylor. I'm one of your hosts. I'm an astrologer and a psychic, and you can go to my website at divineandrogen.com.
Hi there. I'm Bright Hawk, musician and storyteller and author of The Dancing Hippo, a gender-neutral, wonderful, inspiring book for children of all ages, I like to say. You can learn more about me at brighthawkproductions.com. And
I'm LeKross, and I don't have anywhere you can find me but Facebook.
Yeah, but they can look in the descriptions and get your awesome
authentically, fabulously you.
Thank you.
All right. So I invite you all to take a deep breath. And become present in your here and now. Take a moment to just take stock of who you are and where you are right now in your life. Now, what I'm hoping you will do is just pick 2 or 3 things that you might like to see shift in the next year. Imagine those things. What will go away and what will come true for you? What will you let go and what will you learn to manifest? Take a moment to take 1 or 2 of those things and imagine yourself a year from now, around New Year's, recognizing how far you've come in 1 year. Seeing yourself walk, talk, and be in that future manifestation that you want and desire. Imagine what it feels like, what it smells like, and what it looks like. What decisions will you make in that year from now? What will you do with that you have manifested? And fold in any other wishes. Show yourself how that will look and feel and be. and see yourself in a complete manifestation of your exact intention. Imagine that coming true for you 1 year from now. Make sure you feel all the good stuff that happens with that. The happiness, the joy, the feeling of accomplishment. Just hold on to that. And as you see that version of yourself, imagine it just melting into who you are right now. Melting into your existence so that you may live that reality. And as that reality folds into your system and you recognize the actions and the things that you will have to do around those new manifestations, just know within yourself that that is exactly what will come true. Just know it to be true. No longer is there a moment of questioning. Instead, there is just knowing. And as you know it to be true, and you come back into your here and now, and who you are right now sitting in your chair. Come back into your body, feeling those same emotions of knowing you accomplished your wish and your intention. And bring that forward and make that come true. Wiggle your toes and come back into your body. And be ready to open your eyes and be present within yourself and know that that wish will come true. Fantastic. All right. So this is your 2023 forecast. This is your 2023 forecast, Soulstrology Forecast. And I've essentially took down some notes because it's just a few major transitions that will happen through the year. And first of all, I want to say that in case you didn't know, about the time you're listening to this, Mercury is in retrograde. And it will be until the 18th, okay? January the 18th, 2023. So just hold on tight through, notice that I feel bad for the people traveling right now. I'm like, oh man. Okay, and it will probably go on, and there could be different manifestations of that Mercury retrograde until January 18th. And mostly that means you want to review, you want to edit, you could have some trouble with communication and travel and computers. So back up your computers. But if you haven't already done it, you're already in the middle of it now. So you might as well just fly through and just make sure you're prepared for the next time. Now, the first thing that happens in the beginning of the year is that Saturn enters Pisces. And Saturn's a big planet, okay? And it's all about boundaries, it's about foundation, and it's kind of an intense karmic planet. And, you know, we talk about the Saturn returns, we talk about that's when you probably are going to figure out some of your boundaries at your Saturn returns, which happens around 27 to 30 years old. And your second one, you're going to figure out where your boundaries are. Okay. And you're going to figure out, like some pretty intense things. Okay. Sometimes we change jobs. Sometimes we might change relationships, and sometimes we might change some other things that are pretty big in our life, like not just love relationships, but relationships in which, like, family and friends and things like that. Okay. So when Saturn enters Pisces, what happens there? Well, with Saturn entering Aquarius, which is where it's coming out of, first of all, if you've done your work, it's going to reward you. So if you think about our culture, what has our culture been through since Saturn's been in Aquarius is the BLM movement. It's been the recognizing that we have all these, statues to slave owners. It's been some pretty interesting reckoning because Aquarius represents the collective. Okay. Now Pisces represents spirituality, emotionality, sensitivity. And so when I think about Saturn and Pisces, I immediately go to, oh, it's going to be about the foundation of our spirituality. It's going to be about our boundaries of spirituality. It's going to be about the boundaries of all spirituality. Like, how far can spirituality and consciousness really take you? And that answer is probably different since the last time Saturn was in Pisces in the 60s. So last time Saturn was in Pisces, I think Brighthawk I think it was before the 60s, but that was the one time that sticks out in my brain because when you were born and Saturn in Pisces was there, it was like the middle of peace, love, and happiness. Right?
And protesting.
And protest, yeah.
And the people born between, I think it's 64 and 1964 and 1967, all of us have Pluto-Uranus conjunct.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was revolution. It was transformation. It was revolution in consciousness, revolution in war, revolution in society, revolution in sexuality, revolution in politics, revolution,
everything.
You name it. I mean, yeah. So when we talk about Pluto, we're always talking about transformation. Pluto also is death and rebirth, right? Those two things go together. Transformation is frequently death and rebirth, right? And then when we talk about Uranus, we're talking about unpredictable, volatile, revolutionary, some say nuclear, can really intensify things. So those of us that are Pluto-Uranus generation, all of us will be starting our Pisces in Saturn, our second Saturn return in Pisces. Let me try to reverse that phrase. And I heard Rick Levine, I'm going to give credit to where credit is due, say the thing that's interesting about Saturn entering Aquarius, from
Pisces.
Aquarius into Pisces, is that you have Saturn, which is all about the rules, and Pisces is all about what rules? There's no rules. You have one that's all about boundaries and lines and structure, Saturn, and you have Pisces, which is watery and fluid and spiritual and totally not grounded. Water, okay, right? So that's interesting. That's interesting meeting there.
It makes me think about consciousness. It makes me think like consciousness is what's going to be coming up, okay?
Yeah.
And because consciousness, and when I say consciousness, what do I mean? I mean like the consciousness movement, where there's all these people talking about we have to get our consciousness. We have to find our consciousness. We have to become conscious, because we're all actually conscious beings, but most of us, a lot of us, are unconscious. In other words, we just walk through our life like we're in a program, and we just walk through it. We're not really conscious of what's going on around us. We're not conscious of who's done what beside us or anything like that. And so that lack of consciousness is kind of part of the problem, okay? And so so that's kind of part of the humanity's problem, frankly. It's a side effect of trauma. Trauma makes you unconscious, okay? So if you've experienced childhood trauma and you have unresolved trauma, you'll kind of walk around a little disassociated. Especially, so if you find yourself spacing out and missing things, it's probably because you've been triggered, okay? And so that's the lack of consciousness. So that's the opposite. And so that makes me feel like Saturn is going to come through and show us where consciousness is and implant consciousness into humanity, which we desperately need, frankly. And so like the last time you had your Saturn returns was what years? Like in the 80s or something?
No, I was in, I had moved to the East Coast. I was in Cambridge. It was the mid-90s. Yeah, it's the mid-90s for me.
Yeah, so if you think about the mid-90s, of course, the 60s, we had that Pluto-Uranus conjunct. So that definitely influenced things, right? Okay, but in the 90s, we definitely started to have some awakenings of things. We started to become aware of things. We started to, even then is when Dr. Bessel van der Kolk figured out things about trauma and consciousness and stuff like that's when he published his works. It was in the 90s. And so there's some pretty fascinating things that happened in the 90s that we just kind of maybe just overlooked, but now Saturn's in Pisces again, so Saturn's going to point those things out, I feel like. And I feel like they're going to come into consciousness and they're going to be supported. So Saturn entering Pisces is on March 7th, on the same day pretty much, or like within a couple days of that. So we're probably all going to feel that because it's going to be a full moon in Virgo. Okay, so, and Virgo is directly across. It's the opposite sign of Pisces.
Wow.
So we're probably going to feel that happen. You're going to feel it. You're going to probably feel it in a watery tide type of way. And then Saturn retrograde. So then Saturn's going to be going along through the spring. And then on June 17th, it's going to go, oh, wait a minute, and it's going to turn around and go back until June, and it will do that on June 17th. And I thought it was interesting, and eventually it will go back forward again and start chasing Neptune again. And I feel like so Saturn is ruled by Neptune, and Pisces is ruled by Neptune. And so Saturn is kind of following Neptune behind it, okay? And Neptune is very much about, it's very much about dreams and visions. And, you know, it's going to go retrograde on June 30th. So that has a lot to do with, like, that makes me think with the last time we had Neptune retrograde, just this year, it was like fake news suddenly took a front stage. When Neptune is retrograde, especially in Pisces, I feel like sometimes Pisces can get under illusions because you're looking through water. And then with Neptune going backwards, which is also about visions and visual and like dreams and things like that, sometimes we can see things not the way it actually is. And so that's kind of the fake news thing. So this summer, we might be dealing with a little bit more of the fake news thing when Saturn and Neptune are both retrograde in Pisces. And it's probably because we all have to learn something. Like, we really need to do something about this. And it seems obvious to me right now, but clearly not obvious to everyone, that we need to do something about the fake news. It's clearly kind of unfair to some degree to the people that do fall for it, because I feel like they're kind of like walking around in like the cult of Trump or the cult of whatever fake news they believe in. And sometimes it's not even like one clump. Sometimes it's like just little pieces of fake news, and they don't know what's real and what's not. And then as a result, we have all these people walking around under an illusion. And I feel like if we don't put some sort of, like, we have to have some regulation, and have had some regulation. You know, it was pretty clear. Remember when before the internet had so much information on it, we knew that if you were reading the Wall Street Journal, it was likely mostly truth. And if you were reading the Inquirer, it was probably bullshit. Okay. I mean, you just kind of knew that, right? You just kind of knew that. And even the people that read the Inquirer, I felt like even them, they knew that that was fake news, right? Okay. But now they don't know. No one knows. And innocent people that just believe in the good of the world now believe that there's a bunch of Democrats coming together to, you know, traffic children for sex and things like that. And you're like, okay, right? And it's clear that there are some things that are probably sort of like, maybe there's one sentence of truth, but everything around it is a lie. And I feel like that's where Saturn and Pisces is going to highlight. That's what's going to happen. We're going to figure out our boundaries around that, around fake news and probably consciousness. Where are the boundaries?
Makes sense.
Because we don't know what the boundaries are in consciousness. Right, to this day, we're still not sure how far it can take us. Mm-hmm. How far can we actually go with consciousness? What is consciousness and what does it look like? We're still defining these things, and we're still trying to figure out how far it can take us. And I mean, there's even studies here in Colorado at CSU of people studying the epigenetics, and epigenetics is a study of that. Meditation, for instance, could possibly stop you from expressing genes in a way that you don't want to. So if you have a gene that says you should have diabetes, or you should have a heart condition, that actually you could meditate in a way that could take you away from that. Okay? And so I think that that's what Saturn in Pisces is going to do. Saturn in Pisces is going to do that, and it's going to be supported by Pluto in Aquarius.
So let's talk about that, because that's a big deal.
Right, because that takes you right into Pluto into Aquarius, which is meant to happen on March 23rd.
So
it's only what?
Just so you know, Pluto hangs out in a sign for 20 years. Pluto has been for 20 years in Capricorn, and now it's going to the sign of revolution, Aquarius. So the planet of transformation meets the sign of revolution. What's going to happen? What's going to evolve? What's going to change? What needs to fall apart so something else can emerge, right? What else do you want to say about that?
Okay, so first of all, Aquarius, as I've mentioned, is about the collective. So I think that's why Pluto in Aquarius is going to support the collective. So it's going to sort of explode the collective. It's going to, what the hell did Rick Levine just say? Rick Levine said it's like Roto-Rooter. Pluto is like Roto-Rooter. It's going to clean it all out. Okay, and I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so it's going to probably deal with, it's going to either push you into consciousness or closer to consciousness, or at least recognizing what consciousness is within yourself, or you're probably going to like fall out somehow. Okay. And that could be through unfortunate events, especially with Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto, because Aquarius also rules, I believe, the environmental thing, because the environmental thing rules, the climate crisis rules our entire world, our entire like who we are. Okay. It rules that what humans have created. Okay. So humans have created the climate crisis, and Aquarius sort of rules all of humanity. And with Pluto in there, it's going to go, I told you. And Saturn already told you. Saturn already was just here and warned you. And here comes Pluto to clean it out. Places are going to flood. We're going to have climate crisis. We're going to see it in a big way. And it's probably going to last the good 20 years of Pluto and Aquarius. And it's not going to be easy. But what's going to happen as a result, right, is that people are going to become conscious. Okay, maybe I don't need to drink plastic bottles because they land in the ocean. Maybe I should use a refillable bottle. Can you believe there are still people in the world that buy a case of water every week and they don't use a refillable bottle? And I'm like, could you just refill your bottle, man? Like, you know what happens to those bottles when you throw them in the trash? They don't just go to the dump, right? And there's other things like that, like toothpaste, like, you know, toothpaste tubes and shampoo bottles and all the crap that we create trash on a regular basis. And the other things that we do to the environment that regularly destroy it, from our burning of gas and coal, to the way we compost our food, to the way we grow our food, to even the way we turn up the dirt to grow our food, which apparently is unnecessary and in fact creates more carbon in the sky and therefore is not really good for growing food, nor for the sky, nor for the air that we breathe. We cut down trees on a regular basis. And it's a constant list of environmental things that we've made some big mistakes on, that humans are going to come into the realization that we have to stop doing those things. And that's what Saturn's going to teach it. Saturn's going to come in and say, okay, so now that y'all are awake and you see that, you know, half of Florida's underwater, Louisiana's underwater, maybe we lost a couple of islands, and these things are happening and you guys are struggling with this. Now you can start to create a system that works. And I think Pluto's going to come into Aquarius. But the interesting thing about 2023 is that it's only there. It's there. Let's see. Pluto moves back into, okay. So from March, in March 23rd, Pluto goes into Aquarius, and then it's going to go retrograde on May 1st.
I thought there was 3.5 months. Is it 2.5 months?
So that's not even March, April, May. So it's not even.
Wow.
And then
so
it goes May 1st, it goes retrograde.
It goes back.
And then it's going to, and then Pluto is going to move back into Capricorn backwards while it's going backwards, which is where it is right now, on June 11th. And it's going to hang out there until 2024. So I think it's going to show us how the climate crisis is going to fuck our financial system. And to use that word is just, I'm just saying, man, because we have to figure out a balance between these two things. You know, we've been so some people are so worried about losing their coal company or their whatever, okay, or their blah blah blah, okay, their coal company, their oil burning company, or whatever it is, that they are worried about that. And that's their financial crisis, right? And I'm going, you think that's a problem? What happens if you try to build, what happens when Puerto Rico floods 3 months in a row? What happens when Louisiana's can't hold the water back anymore, right? Okay, and what happens when Texas overflows? Then what? We have these places are full of water, and then we have oil spills as a result of these storms, and so we're gonna have bigger problems than their concern about small things. So those are the things that I can see happening, especially with the Pluto in Capricorn problem, or Pluto going back into Capricorn. It's gonna point out the connection between the two of the environmental crisis and our financial crisis. So there's a whole bunch of people that are worried about a financial crisis in 2023, and I agree. You should be concerned. There could be a crash. Yeah, because of the Pluto going back into Capricorn. And it'll be there for a while. And, so I just feel like it's gonna stir the pot.
For sure. So at the beginning of the year in January, let's just talk a little closer to the moment we're possibly in. And that is, we've talked about Mars and Gemini retrograde forever. It feels like it's been forever. It's like 6 months or something, 6.5 months, I think. So finally, Mars goes direct in mid-January. Thank God. Now you can kind of breathe, because remember, when Mars is retrograde, it means it's a terrible time to initiate any kind of confrontation of any kind. Things backfire and boomerang during retrograde. So I'm relieved when Mars goes direct, because Mars is on my ascendant, and so it has a lot of influence in my chart. I guess it also explains why I have zero patience. So that's a good thing. I want to give us a little bit of levity, because that last little piece felt really intense. Do you have anything more you want to talk about in the first quarter of the year, January, February, March?
Not really.
Okay, then let's talk about the second quarter, and it begins in April. So April 20th, we have a total solar eclipse. Now, the interesting thing about the eclipses, that we have 4 eclipses every year, right? And the sign of the eclipse is, when that happens, they're usually on a single axis point. So we have 2 eclipses at one point in the year, and then later 2 eclipses at another point in the year. And they're usually in 2 signs. So 2 years ago, the axis was Sagittarius and Gemini. So the lunar and solar eclipses were both happening in Gemini and in Sagittarius. Then these last 2 years, the eclipses have been in Taurus and Scorpio. Okay, so we're finishing the end of the 2-year cycle of Taurus and Scorpio, and then it's going to move into Aries and Libra. But check it out. In 2023, we have 4 eclipses as per usual, and those 4 eclipses are each in a different sign.
What? So I think about more people being involved.
So 2024, it'll go back to all 4 eclipses will be in Aries and Libra. But in the meantime, I just want to lay it out for you. So you know that the solar eclipse is April 20th, and it's at the very, very last degree of Aries, 29 degrees and 50 seconds, like so very last, you can't even believe it, okay? Then I'm just going to give you the overview, and then I'll talk a little bit about what it means. Then May 5th, you know, because it's always about 2 weeks later, the other eclipse happens, right? And then that's the lunar eclipse with the full moon, right? And so that's in Scorpio, in the middle of Scorpio, 14 degrees, 58 seconds, right? So then 6 months later, these things happen, and it's the solar eclipse again on the new moon, and that will be October 14th. And now we begin the Libra cycle. So Libra, 21 degrees Libra, and then the lunar eclipse 2 weeks later is the full moon in Taurus. Okay, so we'll take these a little bit at a time. What that means is that we'll start with the new moon eclipse in Aries. This is kind of a big deal. So in astrology, you know that we celebrate the new year not on January 1st, but on the new moon of Aries. Aries is the beginning of the astrological calendar. And so the new moon in Aries is a big deal. It's your best time of the whole year to do your vision board, to plan to look out for your future and what do you want on your horizon. So we actually have a very powerful opportunity to make wishes and dreams come true, because the new moon in a solar eclipse in Aries is the astrological new year. And it's a great time for focusing on what are the things that light you up. It's a good time to review, like, where am I at? Am I on track? Am I doing the things I want to be doing? And you know, new moons are all about the time when we should be taking action, planting seeds, setting intentions, you know, picking this and not that, choosing what you want as much as what you don't want. You don't always have to know everything, just know what the next thing is. And being able to dream and imagine, because between this eclipse, between April and June, there is a period of time that is brilliantly move forward. Things are going to really speed up because everything's moving forward. All the planets will be direct for that 2-month period. And then June comes and things start going retrograde one by one by one. So retrograde always is that review, take it a step back. Wait a minute, before we go forward, have we looked at everything? You know, that energy. So this eclipse, I cannot encourage you enough to know that when April 20th comes, that's the time when you're going to sit down and you're going to do your vision board. You're going to write down dreams and visions. You're going to do anything that puts you in a creative space. And the thing I would say about these doing creative space things is you cannot be stressed out. You cannot create from a place of stress. You can only create from a place of love and gratitude and feeling relaxed and connected to nature. So when there is a new moon, I highly recommend you do whatever practice that works for you. You take some time in nature and then come to your activity, and come to it with your heart, not your mind. And beautiful things can happen. It's a very powerful time. It's a great time to discover the benefits of expressing your most authentic self, you know, because it's in Aries, and it's Also, this is the challenge part, is this new moon will square Pluto.
Oh, yeah.
And Pluto will still be in Capricorn. So there could be some obstacles, but it might also reveal to you where you need to do the work. It doesn't have to be a terrible thing. It can be a really, oh, so I need to remove that obstacle and then I'm good. So it'll help you figure it out. And it's also aligned with Jupiter. And we know Jupiter, and we're going to talk about Jupiter in a minute because it's also moving signs, which is a really big deal. Jupiter encourages resourcefulness and courage and loves opportunity. So, there's an opportunity to sort of really align with your path, your future, your desired outcomes. And instead of, if you find yourself what ifing, make sure you what if on the positive, not what if on the negative. Because what you imagine and dream about and think about has the potential for coming true. So let's dream big, dream beautiful, and dream in a positive way. So it's a really good, the first eclipse I feel really excited about. So that's April 20th, okay? You want to talk about April, what other things are happening in April and May?
No, you go ahead, because actually, as far as the things going on in April, the other big thing that, other than, Pluto going retrograde May 1st, Jupiter will square Pluto on May 17th, which could say expansion. It could make big roto-rooter, a bigger roto-rooter. No, I mean, you got to get rid of this, okay? And when we think about this Saturn-Pluto thing, the one thing I want to say is that, yeah, it could be a little on the intense side, but these are changes we need to make. We all know it. Most of us are smart enough to go, we got to make some changes about our relationship with the earth. The indigenous people have been trying to tell us for years, and all we have to do is really reach out to them and all of us need to band together to figure out how to make this more balanced. And frankly, be grateful that this is happening. You could decide to get super upset about it and be scared about the financial crisis, or scared about who could flood, or how and how many people might pass, or whatever. Okay. Yeah, you can get caught up in that, or you can choose to see the bigger picture, which is that humanity is evolving. Humanity is evolving into a better, harmonious relationship with planet Earth, which is really necessary. We all know it.
Yeah.
So it's not news, really.
So what I've noticed since I've started studying astrology is that when the eclipse cycles come, the eclipse season as we know it, between that new moon and the full moon, one of the energies will be easier for you to deal with, and one of them will be more challenging. It's just kind of how I've seen it go down since I started paying closer attention. So it's the second one that I look at and I go, ooh, this could be kind of challenging. May 5th is a full moon eclipse in Scorpio. And the full moon in Scorpio is in its fall position. So sometimes we talk about the planets being, they're either home, or we talk about the moon being exalted, like when the moon is in Taurus. We talked about that recently. The moon is exalted. When the moon is in Scorpio, it's in the fall position. And so not in detriment, in fall. So challenged, it's a challenged moon, okay? Moon in Scorpio is a challenged moon. And it also means that the fixed signs, and it's happening again in the middle part of the sign, it's 14 degrees, 58 minutes. So other fixed signs, and I'm talking to Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Those are your fixed signs. they're going to feel it a lot. And if you're in between 10 and 20 degrees, that's the spot that's gonna, you're gonna feel it. You're just gonna feel it. It's where it's gonna happen. And so it's a polarity that deals with balance. Taurus is about mine, right? My things. I want it my way. I mine. Versus Scorpio, which is about like burn it all down. It's transformation, it's spirituality, it's cut the bullshit, let's focus on what's important. Scorpio is that, special breed. I talk a lot about, there's a spectrum, there's a range of Scorpio, and it's positive and it's challenging. And so, this could be that kind of challenge time, sort kind of thing, So those are the first parts of the eclipse. All right.
Okay.
Then what happens?
So the other thing that I noticed that was kind of a big deal is, of course, I mentioned that Neptune goes retrograde in Pisces. It does go back direct December the 6th. So on June 30th, it goes retrograde, and then it goes direct and starts to head out of Pisces, which could be a blessing, frankly, as far as the fake news goes. It could really help us get away from that. But it could also mean that you want to finish up your visions about your future, about your spirituality. You want to get that in there before the end of next year, okay? You want to focus on that, and even though it's in retrograde, that's okay. That's a good time to reflect on things that have gone well for you, things that have worked out, especially around spirituality. And the other thing that I notice is that January 22nd, Uranus goes direct, and then it goes retrograde on August 28th through next January 27th. So I was thinking about that, and I was like, okay, because Uranus is retrograde now, and it will be there until January 22nd. And what's happening right now? And then I started to think about the queer movement, right? And how many states are fighting against queer rights, and there's this sort of and we're having to review and edit. Okay, maybe we need to be more specific about trans rights, because now they're banning books and and they're doing crazy weird shit where we're like, okay, I guess I had to think about this differently. And in order for us to get everybody's rights out there, okay? So there might be another, we're going to be going back and forth, and it's still in Taurus, and Taurus represents holding on to the old ways or the more conservative ways, which is why Uranus there always feels to me like it's complete opposites. It's like oil and water. Uranus is like, let's do it, revolutionary, let's change, right? And Taurus is like, no, let's keep it just the way it's always been. Why would we change this? Okay. And so, and Uranus and Taurus I feel like it's oil and water. And I have always felt that way since it got in there, and I still feel that way. And I'm like, it's like oil and water, and it is like oil and water. Okay. And that's why we're seeing this transgender and the whole trans rights and the books being banned. So it will go direct on January 22nd, and will be direct between January 22nd and August 28th, which is a good part of the year. So I just wanted to point that out to you, that if you are doing any kind of things that require forward movement for Uranus, so anything that's queer related, anything that's revolutionary, out of the box, different, unusual, that's the time you want to focus on it. It will go retrograde again on August 28th, and we'll have to review once more from August 28th to January 27th before Uranus gets the hell out of Taurus, so that, I feel like queers will get our rights when Uranus gets out of Taurus, frankly.
Oh,
I feel like it's part of the, I feel like it's
a long
part of
time.
the, and it's a while. It could be a while, and it's just a push and pull, and it probably won't be. I'm pretty sure it's like 2025 when Uranus gets the hell out of there.
man.
So, it's part of the revolution. It's part of what's happening.
Does it normally go that long direct and that long retrograde? Is that like a normal thing? Like it'll go 6 months forward and then 6 months back, or
Yeah, Uranus is kind of a slow moving planet, so it tends to move kind of slow. So yeah. It's kind of a slow moving planet, considering that it's so revolutionary. You'd think it would move a little faster.
And I believe
but it doesn't move as slow as Pluto.
And I believe it is more elliptical based on that 6 month retrograde.
And I think it's not regular though. Uranus,
Elliptical,
meaning it's not regular. Like it does all kinds of weird things.
Yeah.
Like it's not regular. Like you can't. Like it doesn't. Like Saturn is like every 27 years it goes back to the same zodiac sign. I don't think Uranus does that. Like it does. A few years here, a few years there, and a while there. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in October, so remember we talked about Aries Libra. So in Aries, the solar eclipse, April 20th, by the way, that because it's in that last degree, it impacts the cardinal signs, Aries, and the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So if you're in the last degrees of those, or in the first degrees of fixed signs, which would be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, right? Those are the ones who are going to feel it the most. So now we go Aries, 6 months later, October 14th in Libra, because that's the access point, Aries, Libra. So the solar eclipse on October 14th at 21 degrees is going to affect people with personal planets at 16 to 26 degrees in cardinal signs. So the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Y'all are going to feel it. And the solar eclipse in Libra. So Libra, we keep talking about relationships, and you haven't talked at all about Venus's major moves in 2023. There's a lot of Venus energy. Libra's all about relationship. Libra's all about help me out.
It's about style, love, values.
Libra. I have no placements in Libra. You guys
Libra's
are like,
about balance.
Yeah.
It's about balance. It's ruled by Venus. Libra is about balance. It's about good relationships.
Yeah.
It's
Perspectives.
It tends to have and it tends to be a good collaborator. It tends to bring people together.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like your eclipse with what was it, Libra. And
the new moon.
Yeah, that could create new relationships, frankly, for some people.
Right.
Some people could meet their partner. That would be the first thing I would think of.
Great time to meet a person.
Yeah. And frankly, Venus is I looked at Venus, and although it's doing a lot of different things, it's only retrograde for a very short period of time. And I didn't write it down I didn't write down the dates for some odd reason. But Venus actually only does one retrograde, and it's only for like less than a month.
Yeah, it was more the transits. I believe there were some conversations where it's squaring or opposing that we'll talk about when we get to it. But the last eclipse of the year, and again, now we're switching from Aries Libra to Taurus Scorpio. So the full moon, now we had a full moon in Scorpio. Now we're going to have a full moon 6 months later in Taurus. So that is a partial lunar eclipse for us. And it's happening at 5 degrees. So 5 degrees Taurus means that it's going to impact those with planets, between 0 and 10 degrees in the fixed signs. So the fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Those are the folks that are going to feel it the most with placements in that arena. And Yeah, so the full moon in Taurus, as we know, is exalted. It loves being there. It's shines brightly on all the things that are wonderful in life and in order and in place and artistic and creative. And so it could be very creative time in the fall there. So those are the eclipses for 2023. I'd never seen them all be in have 4 different signs in the eclipses. That's a different kind of year.
Yeah, it should be an interesting year. I will say that things do actually get really better in the end of 2024, and I know it feels like a long time away, but
it gets better. I promise.
We are headed towards exactly what we're supposed to be doing here.
Yeah.
And we are meant to go through this as a human race. We are meant to find our better selves. And so, my friends, I'm not going to do a 3-card pull. I'm just going to do one for the whole year. I'm going to pull 1 card for the whole year, okay? Oh my, I'm tempted to put it back.
Oh my God. Oh, wow.
But it pretty much follows with what I say, which is about us facing ourselves as a human race. What have we done to the planet, and what part of our temptations have taken us beyond what we need? So if you take a look at this card, it's the Devil card, which if you know anything about Tarot, it's about temptation. And this card is not just about facing your temptation, but also about overcoming your temptation and knowing what it means, how it carries for you, and what it's supposed to do, and facing the part of you that wants that thing so badly. So that's exactly what the Devil card's all about. The Devil card is essentially about temptation. And I think that that's really at the center of the climate crisis. And I will say that you may see some things really win. And what would I say is going to win? I'm going to say AI, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrencies, because they're worldwide and they include everybody. But it will be the ones that are a little bit more environmentally friendly rather than the conservative ones that we've already been dealing with for a long time, like Bitcoin and stuff like that. It'd be the newer ones that are coming online that are being like, well, we can do that without burning so much energy. Okay. And those will be the cryptocurrencies that will do better. Okay. So if I was to say who's going to win, what's going to do well in 2023, those are the things that are going to do well. It's going to be the forward thinking things. It's going to be the things that take us forward. All right. All right, my friends. And thank you for listening to RainbowSoul Soulstrology
for 2023. And if
buckle up.
We didn't say it, we really should say, and a very happy new year.
Yep.
Because I like to say a happy always. It's a choice. It's a choice. I remind folks all the time at the nursing home that, the secret to happiness is gratitude. It's not about having everything your way. It's not about having 50 million trines or no difficulties or no challenges. We all know that it's challenges that force us to grow. We generally don't choose transformation. It chooses us, and we're on for the ride. So our intention, our goal is to help you make that ride as awesome, as creative, as smooth, as beautiful as possible, because you deserve it. You're an awesome person, and you just need to know what's going on so you can surf's up, baby.
All right. All right, my friends. Well, please subscribe and share this around and hold on tight. You're going to be okay, though. You're going to be okay.
All right. I guess. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.